So, Congresswoman, you were in Puerto Rico recently, and so Idali Torres says, I would like to know if you have more information about your visit.
Yes, so I thank you for asking about the visit. I recently went last month on a congressional delegation visit to Puerto Rico regarding the Puerto Rico Status Determination Act. There are many different issues that are confronting the island, and there are a lot of reasons why it's very important that we be engaged on this issue. First and foremost, like many other constituencies, our constituency of our population and our Puerto Rican community in our district and in our upcoming new district is very, very large. And so many of us have family, or we ourselves are directly affected and impacted, including myself, on what is happening on the island. Secondly, in the present legal situation, Puerto Rico does not have a voting member in Congress. They have a non-voting representative, but if any representatives that actually have the right to vote in the United States Congress are acting on this issue, they pretty much can only come from a couple of places: New York, maybe Connecticut at some point. But the fact of the matter is that there are only a couple of Puerto Rican members of Congress that actually can vote and also represent very heavily Puerto Rican populations. And so in the spirit of that, myself and Nidia Velazquez, who represents district just one or two districts down, we went to Puerto Rico last month to address the Puerto Rico Status Determination Act and start to collect and hear from people on the island on what needs to be done in order for us to have a respected democratic process of self-determination. And so right now that bill entertains three different status options: statehood, full statehood, free association, and independence, and figuring out a just process that is actually agreed to by all parties is the critical goal here. Because you or anyone else may have heard in times past that there have been plebiscites or that there have been votes in Puerto Rico regarding status, and that it may have yielded one result or another. But very often they are not respected because their process and the legitimacy of those plebiscites are very questionable. And their legitimacy, they have really deep legitimacy issues. And the reason for that is because there's no actual agreed upon process to go about this. And in Puerto Rico, political parties are not organized by Democrat or Republican. It's very important that people understand that, but they are organized around party. So there's a pro-statehood party, a pro-sovereignty party, etc. And so what happened in the past is that you have a pro-statehood party running a status election, or a pro-sovereignty party who's running the sovereignty election, or the statehood party running the statehood election. It creates a lot of issues because the way the ballots are designed can be biased. The way that the processes are established can be biased. Education and things like that all get contested. And so right now we are currently in the process under the jurisdiction of the Natural Resources Committee to try to meet and work with people in Puerto Rico on the island on this bill. I'm also actively covering and working and have been also working in legislation. In addition to all of the things that we're working on here for our community, we also do a lot of environmental justice work on the island, particularly around a lot of the federal and local tax evasion that's going on the island, where you see a lot of these Bitcoin and crypto billionaires that are attempting to displace native Puerto Ricans and violate local law. In Puerto Rico, beaches cannot be privately owned. They are all public land, and there's a lot of displacement and abuse and corruption going on. And it requires, I believe, federal oversight while we are still in this process of figuring out this whole status issue as well. So that bill, I believe that we are working on it. I know that there was a push to try to just bring it to the House floor right away. I don't think that we should do that unless we are actually able to incorporate the concerns and the buy-in from people in Puerto Rico from all backgrounds and perspectives.